Welcome back. This is going to be a new series in quarterback power rankings. We're going to do a couple of different positions. We're going to start with the quarterbacks. We talked about this in the offseason as a new series for the channel, and I'm very curious to see how everyone likes this, what they'd like to see. And we're going to go with the top 12 quarterbacks right now. And it's not just going to be statistics, it's going to be guys that are playing their best. We're going to try to limit how much we put team success into it and truly just look at the quarterback position. Number 12 is going to be John Mateer. And while I think a lot of people would have him higher, I think a lot of people are projecting him as a potential Heisman finalist. There are definitely guys that are playing a little bit better and a little bit more exciting than John Mateer. Now, don't get me wrong, John Mateer has a lot of excitement in his game, but there are also some big concerns about some of the decisions that he's making. That being said, I am excited about what he brings to Oklahoma. He gives them a quarterback that they haven't had in the last couple of years, and he's been really fun so far. Now, his numbers aren't going to stand out a ton, but part of that is because they've either been up by a lot or they've been in absolute dogfights. The Michigan and Auburn games haven't exactly been explosive, but he has given them that sense of poise, that calm presence to be able to lead them down the field when they need to. 67% completion percentage, over 1,200 yards passing, 6 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. He's also run for 190 yards and 5 touchdowns. Again, Oklahoma is in a much better position because he is running the show and he is someone that's going to be really fun for this team down the stretch. Now, a guy who is going to only be in this one and not in the rest of them simply because of his injury is Steve Angeli. And Angeli has been a really good player for Syracuse. He's been a massive reason why they've had success or why they have not folded. He was a really good presence for this offense and clearly a great addition via the transfer portal. Throws for over 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns. And coming off of a massive win over Clemson, it really couldn't get better than that. The problem is that he tore his Achilles and now he's done for the season. So again, he is only going to be in this one, unfortunately, and that's too bad because he was having such a good year. He was giving Syracuse some life offensively, and this was a group that we weren't exactly sure what we were going to get. Now the keys get turned over to Ricky Collins, and we'll see if he can do the same. But Angeli clearly was the right guy for the job, and you have to tip your cap to the staff for finding him, and you have to give him a ton of credit for what he's done with the Orange. Another guy that's playing a lot better than people expected, Bo Pribula. The Missouri quarterback has had a ton of success early in the season, coming off a big win against South Carolina. This Missouri team is exceeding expectations, and Pribula is going to be a big reason why. 84 of 116 passes, 72% completion percentage, 962 yards, 8 touchdowns to just 2 picks. So he's clearly taking care of the football. He clearly knows what he is doing. He's making smart decisions, and you have to appreciate that. 148 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. There's not a guy in this list that has improved his stock more than him right now. This is a guy who has skyrocketed. There were big questions about his ability to play the quarterback position because he was kind of a gadget guy at Penn State, transfers to Missouri, and now clearly that was the right move for both sides, and he's playing with a ton of confidence. He's been so fun to watch this year. Next is going to be Byron Brown. USF has had a ton of success with Brown running the show, and they've had a couple of upsets early in the year. Now, the Miami game did not go their way, but Byron Brown has been a key piece of this offense. 983 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, 2 picks, 120 yards rushing with 2 more scores. He has been playing with a ton of confidence. And we talked about him coming into the year. We talked about how if he plays like he did 2 years ago and not like last year when he was hurt, this was a guy that's going to be special. And right now he's playing with a ton of confidence. He has the belief that he can make any throw, he can make any play, and his big frame has been a problem for every defense that he's faced for the most part. He's been a really good player for this offense. He has been the leader, and he's had guys step up around him, which also helps. But this is the guy that if you're excited about USF, Byron Brown is a big reason why. Another guy that had some questions coming into the year was Jaden Maeva, and USC's quarterback is kind of answering all of those questions. And really, it helps that you're throwing to Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon, but you have to give Jaden Maeva credit for what he has done. He has been a big time contributor. And even though they just got their first test of the week or of the year this past weekend against Michigan State, this is a guy that clearly is playing to the level that they want him to. And there's a reason why Lincoln Riley didn't go out and get a transfer quarterback. They trusted what Jaden Maeva could do, and it's clear that this is exactly why they did not go get a transfer portal quarterback. They felt like they had the right guy in place. They let Miller Moss walk, and Maeva has lived up to the hype. 989 yards and 6 touchdowns. Also has 2 rushing touchdowns. We don't really talk about that because Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane kind of steal the show. You also have the emergence of Waymon Jordan. That's been really fun for USC. This is an offense that we were kind of waiting for with Lincoln Riley, and Jay Maeva, of all quarterbacks, has been the reason why this resurgence is happening. Now, some of the guys on the list, like a Haynes King, not going to have the most impressive numbers, but when you go and watch the film, you look at what he has done, there is not much bad you can really say about Haynes King. Yes, there are certain aspects of his game where you could see improvement, but Haynes King is a big reason why Georgia Tech has had success. The opening game against Colorado, Haynes King was the reason they won that game. The game against Clemson, you can make an argument that Haynes King was the reason that they won that game. He has been so good for Georgia Tech, and he's been such a fun player to watch. This is a team that's been tested, and they've passed both of their big tests. King is an absolute wrecking ball running the football. Obviously not the most dangerous passer, but he is taking care of the football. And when they've needed him to step up, he's delivered every single time. He's obviously a fan favorite. And if you like watching a quarterback who has a passion for his teammates and a passion for playing the game, Haynes King is your guy. Another guy that we're not really talking about a ton is Jalen Daniels. Now, Jalen Daniels is someone we talked about coming into the year about how could he take his game to another level, and having a system that maybe benefits him a little bit more on top of staying healthy has been really fun to watch. And he has delivered on all fronts. 817 yards and 12 touchdowns passing to just 2 interceptions. Look at what he did last year. You look at his touchdown to interception ratio, he is blowing that out of the water this year. 159 yards and 1 score on the ground. They're trying to limit how much they utilize his legs, and I think that's a good thing. I think they want to see him throw the football. They want to let his playmakers do the playmaking for him and let the running backs take most of those hits in the run game, but they like using his legs as well when they can. And so far, this has been a great start for Kansas. It's been a great start for Jalen Daniels, and this has been a really fun team to watch. They're playing with a ton of confidence, and they could be a team to pay attention to in the Big 12 this year. Number 5 is going to be Baron Morton, and while he did not play pretty much the entire second half against Utah, this is a really fun offense to watch because of him. You look at what they've done so far this year, Baron Morton was playing with a confidence that has been unmatched by most quarterbacks in college football. 69% completion percentage, 1,065 yards, 11 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, had 2 picks against Utah, and you can make an argument that neither of those were his fault. You know, he had one that was a little bit underthrown. You can make an argument he probably shouldn't have thrown that further, but it takes an unfortunate bounce and Utah picks it off. The other one, his receiver doesn't really fight for it. It was thrown in the right place. The defensive back just rips it away. Not really going to give him that. So you could make an argument that he has 11 touchdowns and 1 pick. That's truly his fault. And that's going to be something that we'll pay attention to going into the rest of the year. The one thing he has to figure out is how to get down. Took an absolute shot on Saturday against Utah and was out for the remainder of the second half, and Will Hammond took over. Now, whether or not this is going to be a 2-quarterback system, don't really know, because Will Hammond played lights out once he found his feet, once he found his footing, once he figured out how he could be comfortable in this offense, and once Mac Leftwich clearly had things dialed in. Now, Morton, I think, is the better player right now. He gives them the best chance to win, but if he's not going to stay healthy, that's going to be a problem. That's the one knock you have on him, and the one thing that could spell trouble for Texas Tech. Now we get into the top 4, and Josh Hoover from TCU is going to be up next. This is someone who's been playing with a ton of confidence. TCU's offense is electric because Josh Hoover came back and is playing with the confidence that they've needed him to. And you've seen that in the North Carolina game. You saw that this past weekend against SMU. 68% completion percentage, 1,000 yards passing, 11 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. I really like what I see from him. And we talked about him coming into the year. I thought that he could be a special talent for TCU, and the Horned Frogs could be a problem. If the first 3 games are any indication of what this team could be, the Big 12 is going to be in trouble. And the fact that he has so many weapons on the outside, specifically Eric McAllister, who had a monster game against SMU, speaks to what this team could do in the Big 12. They could be a problem, and the Big 12 is about as wide open as it's ever been. There haven't been many players rising up faster in NFL draft circles than Fernando Mendoza. Indiana has been playing with a ton of confidence, and they are running through absolutely everyone. They just did that in a 63-10 win over a top 10 team in Illinois. And Mendoza is a big reason why. He's playing with a ton of confidence. He's playing with a poise that is almost robotic in a way. And Indiana just looks like a wagon right now. 76.8 completion percentage, 974 yards, 14 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. Part of that has to do with the wide receiver talent. The offense has a ton of balance, and throwing to a Mark Cooper Jr. and Elijah Surratt is going to make your life a lot easier. But this is a deep team. This is a dangerous team, and Mendoza is a big reason why they're a legitimate contender in the Big Ten right now. Taylen Green is not going to have this same to be said about him. His team has not given him a ton of reasons to be in the Heisman Trophy conversation, but he has done what he can do. And you can only do so much sometimes, and this past weekend was kind of evident of that. You lose a fumble late in the game, but that's not Taylen Green's fault, and he has done everything that he can to keep his team in games. 1,100 yards, nearly 1,200 yards passing, 12 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, 360 yards on the ground. He's averaging 8.2 yards per carry and 2 scores. Taylen Green has taken a big step. It's just that his defense hasn't really helped him out. The offense, I think, has had its struggles at times, but that's not because of Taylen Green. And there's another guy that NFL teams could be very interested in him. You could see him rise up because of his play. As long as he continues doing what he does, Arkansas is going to have a fighting chance. It's just going to be a matter of if the guys around him are going to help him out. And right now, I don't think there's anybody playing as well as Sawyer Robertson. You can make an argument that the other guys in the top 5 could be up there, but Sawyer Robertson looks really good right now. 62% completion percentage, 1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. He's on an offense that is full of talent. I think they're very deep. And this team, despite its overall team struggles, still has a ton left in the tank. They still have a lot of exciting games ahead of them, and they're going to be a tough team to beat. The offense gives them a fighting chance every single week. The defense, maybe not so much, although they did show some signs of life against Arizona State, but Arizona State's also had its fair share of struggles on offense. So Sawyer Robertson and this Baylor Bears offense might have to do a lot more of the weight carrying, if you will, to kind of keep them in games. And that's it for the first ever quarterback power rankings for the 2025 season. Let me know who should be in the top 12. Who is in your top 12? Who's playing really well? Who shouldn't be in? Did I miss somebody? Is somebody too high, too low? As always, that's going to be a fun discussion. Right now, there's a lot of quarterbacks playing with a ton of confidence. You have a number of honorable mentions that we didn't even really talk about, and they probably do have an argument to be in the top 12. If you have your set of rankings, I'd obviously like to see them. Make sure you comment those below. As always, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.